12. Black celebrities who secretly born male. You think you've seen everything until a headline stops you cold. Secretly born male. Hidden identities. Stories they don't want you to know. But what if the real shock isn't the people? It's the way their lives are being told. In today's video on Legends of Black Excellence, we cut through the noise, separate fact from fiction, and expose how viral narratives distort real black lives for clicks. These are not rumors. They are real journeys, real careers, and real truths. Stay with us. Watch closely and decide for yourself. Do headlines reveal the truth or bury it? Marquise Vilson. Marquise Vilson's story is often simplified online, but the truth deserves more care and depth. Assigned female at birth. Vilson grew up navigating an internal reality that did not align with how the world perceived him. From an early age, there was a persistent sense of displacement, an understanding that identity ran deeper than appearance or expectation. Long before cameras casting calls or scripts entered his life, Vilson faced a private struggle familiar to many transgender people, learning how to survive in silence while searching for language to explain who he truly was. This internal tension shaped his resilience long before it shaped his career. As adulthood approached, Vilson made deliberate, informed decisions to live openly as a man. His transition was not sudden or theatrical. It unfolded through time, discipline, and personal resolve. He pursued hormone therapy under medical supervision, allowing his voice, physical features, and presence to gradually reflect his male identity. Later, he underwent top surgery, an important step for comfort and alignment, not spectacle. These choices were medical and personal, not publicity-driven. They did not create his identity. They affirmed something that had always existed beneath the surface. Do you believe authenticity requires public explanation, or is living honestly enough professionally? Marquise Vilson's acting career reflects steady growth rather than overnight hype. He earned roles in well-known television productions such as Law & Order SVU, The Blacklist, and Blind Spot, where his performances were judged on skill, presence, and reliability, not personal history. Casting directors did not hire him as a statement. They hired him because he delivered. For audiences aged 45 to 65, this distinction matters. Vilson's career follows a traditional path of auditions, setbacks, persistence, and incremental success, the same journey countless working actors experience. Beyond scripted television, Vilson has become a visible voice for transgender representation, particularly for Black trans men, a group historically underrepresented in mainstream media. His advocacy does not rely on outrage or shock language. Instead, he emphasizes visibility, mental health awareness, and the importance of accurate storytelling. He has repeatedly clarified that being transgender is not about deception or secrecy, but about self-recognition and survival. In an era where viral content often blurs facts, Vilson's insistence on clarity helps counter misinformation. What makes Marquise Vilson's story resonate is not controversy, but credibility. He represents a generation pushing back against sensational labels that reduce human lives to clickbait. His journey underscores a larger truth. Identity is not a scandal, and transition is not a shortcut to relevance. It is a deeply personal process shaped by courage, patience, and accountability. Vilson's life reminds viewers that progress does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly through consistency, integrity, and the decision to show up as yourself every single day. Jelani Alladin. Jelani Alladin's story is one of quiet determination rather than headline-chasing controversy. Long before Broadway lights and television cameras found him, Alladin was navigating a deeply personal journey that unfolded far from public view. Assigned female at birth, he grew up with a strong internal certainty about who he was, even when that certainty conflicted with social expectations. This disconnect did not disappear with talent or ambition. Instead, it became a private weight he carried while building discipline, craft, and confidence as a performer. Unlike viral narratives that suggest sudden change, Aladdin's transition was gradual, intentional, and medically supervised. As a young adult, he began hormone therapy, allowing physical traits such as vocal tone and body structure to slowly align with his male identity. Later, he chose to undergo top surgery, a decision rooted in comfort and mental well-being rather than visibility. These steps were not about reinvention for applause, they were about stability. By the time audiences truly noticed him, Aladdin had already done much of the hardest work offstage. His professional breakthrough came on Broadway, where he took on the role of Kristoff in Disney's Frozen. For theater audiences, many of them families and older viewers, Aladdin represented something powerful without ever announcing it. He delivered warmth, humor, and emotional clarity in a demanding production that relies on consistency night after night. Broadway does not reward gimmicks, it rewards reliability. Aladdin's success there spoke volumes about his preparation and professionalism, not his personal history. When someone excels at their craft, should their private journey matter more than the work they deliver? Beyond the stage, Aladdin expanded into television, appearing in projects such as The Walking Dead: World Beyond. Transitioning from live theater to screen acting requires restraint and adaptability, and his performances showed growth rather than repetition. Casting decisions reflected trust in his ability to carry emotional nuance, reinforcing the reality that his career advanced because of skill, not novelty. What makes Jelani Aladdin's story especially relevant for a 45-65-year-old audience is its familiarity beneath the surface. His path mirrors that of many professionals who spent years proving themselves quietly before recognition arrived. He did not demand understanding. He earned respect through consistency. In interviews and public appearances, Aladdin speaks carefully, emphasizing authenticity, patience, and the importance of accurate language. He has pushed back against misleading labels that frame transgender lives as secrets or scandals, reminding audiences that transition is a medical and personal process, not entertainment. Aladdin has also become a subtle source of representation for Black transgender men, a group historically overlooked in both theater and television. Yet he avoids positioning himself as a symbol first and an artist second. His advocacy centers on dignity, mental health, and the value of being seen without being sensationalized. Jelani Aladdin's life is not a story about shock or revelation. It is about alignment between identity, work ethic, and purpose. In an era where exaggerated titles often replace truth, his journey stands as proof that clarity and credibility still matter. His success shows that living honestly does not require noise. Sometimes it requires patience, excellence, and the courage to move forward one performance at a time. Jordan E. Cooper. Jordan E. Cooper represents a different kind of power story, one built not on spectacle, but on authorship. Assigned female at birth. Cooper grew up in Texas, in an environment shaped by tradition, rigid gender expectations, and limited space for self-exploration. From an early age, there was a growing awareness that the role he was expected to perform in everyday life did not match his internal sense of self. Rather than verbalizing that conflict publicly, Cooper turned inward, discovering that writing and performance could become a refuge long before they became a career. As he matured, Cooper made the deliberate decision to live openly as a man. This transition unfolded with intention, guided by medical professionals and personal boundaries. He began hormone therapy, which gradually aligned his physical presence, voice posture, and outward expression with his identity. Later, he underwent top surgery, a step he has described as necessary for personal peace rather than public validation. These choices were never framed as reinvention, but as clarification. What distinguishes Jordan E. Cooper is how seamlessly his personal truth fed into his professional impact. Instead of centering his identity as a headline, he embedded lived experience into storytelling. His breakthrough came with The Ms. Pat Show, where he became the youngest Black showrunner in American television history. The achievement was historic not because of his gender journey, but because of his command of structure, humor pacing, and character development. In an industry that often sidelines new voices, Cooper earned authority through competence. For audiences aged 45 to 65, Cooper's rise may feel refreshingly familiar. It follows a classic American pattern, mastering a craft, learning from mentors, failing privately and succeeding publicly through persistence. He did not ask viewers to agree with his life. He asked them to engage with the work. That distinction helped his success reach beyond generational divides. Behind the scenes, Cooper has been outspoken about representation, but with discipline rather than outrage. He has emphasized that diversity in writers' rooms improves storytelling quality, not politics. His advocacy focuses on access and opportunity, particularly for Black creatives whose stories have historically been filtered or diluted. Importantly, Cooper has rejected misleading viral narratives that frame transgender lives as secrets or scandals. He has stressed that inaccurate language harms both audiences and the people being described. Cooper's influence also extends into theater, where his roots as a playwright remain central to his identity. Stage work taught him patience, collaboration, and respect for audience intelligence, values that carried over into television. Rather than repeating the same talking points, he has allowed each project to explore different emotional territories, proving range rather than relying on repetition. Jordan E. Cooper's story is not about shock or controversy. It is about authorship of identity, of narrative, and of legacy. He demonstrates that living honestly does not require constant explanation, and that success built on truth tends to last longer than success built on noise. In a media landscape crowded with exaggeration, Cooper stands as evidence that clarity, discipline, and integrity still resonate, especially with audiences who value substance over spectacle. Kalen Allen. Kalen Allen's rise is a reminder that visibility can arrive through authenticity rather than outrage. Born and raised in Kansas City, Allen grew up with a sharp sense of humor and an instinctive ability to read people. Long before television audiences knew his name, he was already navigating the quiet tension between public expectations and private truth. Assigned female at birth, Allen understood early on that the identity others projected onto him did not fully reflect who he was becoming. Instead of framing that realization as conflict, he learned to channel it into observation, wit, and performance. His transition unfolded with intention and care. Under medical supervision, Allen began hormone therapy, a step that gradually aligned his voice and physical presence with his male identity. Later, he chose to have top surgery, prioritizing comfort and mental well-being rather than visibility. These decisions were not presented as dramatic turning points for an audience. They were personal milestones handled away from the spotlight. By the time his career accelerated, Allen had already done the work of self-alignment privately. Should personal growth be measured by how loudly it's announced or by how confidently it's lived, Allen's public breakthrough came unexpectedly through social media. His candid, humorous commentary on everyday topics caught the attention of millions, including Ellen DeGeneres, who invited him onto The Ellen DeGeneres Show. For a 45-65-year-old audience familiar with the traditional ladder of entertainment, Allen's path might seem unconventional. Yet his success followed familiar principles: preparation, timing, and the ability to connect. His on-screen presence was engaging without being abrasive, confident without being confrontational. What set Kalen Allen apart on television was his refusal to perform identity as spectacle. He did not introduce himself through labels or demands for validation. Instead, he let humor and warmth lead. Whether hosting segments, appearing on red carpets, or participating in interviews, Allen maintained a tone that invited viewers in rather than pushing them away. This approach expanded his reach beyond younger demographics, allowing older viewers to engage without feeling challenged or dismissed. As his profile grew, Allen became increasingly open about his journey, but always with precision. He rejected misleading headlines that framed transgender lives as secrets or scandals. In interviews, he emphasized that transition is a medical and personal process, not a marketing strategy. By correcting misinformation calmly rather than defensively, Allen built credibility with audiences who value clarity and respect. Professionally, Allen has continued to diversify his work, moving beyond viral fame into structured television and media projects. Each role has showcased adaptability rather than repetition. He has avoided leaning on the same talking points instead, allowing different platforms to reveal different aspects of his personality. This restraint has helped sustain his relevance in an industry that often burns through new faces quickly. Kalen Allen's story resonates because it bridges generational gaps. At its core, it reflects values many older Americans recognize: honesty, self-respect, and earning one's place through effort. His life is not evidence of someone being secretly born anything. It is the story of someone choosing alignment over performance, truth over exaggeration. In a media environment crowded with sensational claims, Allen stands out by doing something deceptively simple, showing up as himself consistently and letting that be enough. Ricky Thompson. Ricky Thompson's name is frequently pulled into viral lists built on shock rather than truth, and that makes accuracy especially important. Ricky Thompson was born male and has never publicly identified as transgender. He is a Black gay social media personality whose rise reflects confidence, self-expression, and digital-era charisma, not a hidden transition story. Any narrative suggesting he was secretly born female is factually incorrect and falls squarely into the category of misinformation. Raised in the southern United States, Thompson grew up navigating familiar pressures around masculinity, race, and acceptance. Like many young Black men with expressive personalities, he learned early that standing out could invite judgment. Instead of shrinking, he leaned into humor, exaggeration, and fearless self-presentation. That decision became the foundation of his voice online. His comedy, loud, animated, and unapologetic, was never about gender confusion. It was about refusing shame in a culture that often polices Black male expression. Thompson's breakthrough came through short-form social media videos where his timing and relatability quickly attracted millions of followers. Unlike traditional entertainers, he built his audience without gatekeepers. The appeal crossed generations because the themes were recognizable: confidence, survival, and laughter as armor. As his influence expanded, Thompson moved beyond viral clips into fashion hosting and red carpet culture. He became a recognizable presence at major events, known for bold outfits and theatrical energy. Importantly, none of this required him to rewrite his personal history. He never framed himself as someone hiding a past or unveiling a secret. His openness has always been direct. He is a gay Black man living loudly in a world that once demanded silence. For audiences aged 45 to 65, it's worth separating gender identity from gender expression. Thompson's flamboyance and emotional openness challenge traditional masculine norms, but they do not change biological sex or personal history. Confusing these concepts fuels the kind of misleading titles that dominate click-driven platforms. Thompson himself has not supported such narratives, nor has he benefited from them. In fact, these claims often undermine his credibility by turning individuality into spectacle. Professionally, Thompson has shown adaptability rather than repetition. He transitioned from social media fame into structured media appearances, brand partnerships, and hosting opportunities. That evolution mirrors a classic entertainment arc: start small, prove connection with audiences, then expand reach. The difference is the platform, not the principle. His success rests on consistency, work ethic, and audience trust. Thompson has also spoken about mental health, self-worth, and the long-term impact of online judgment. He understands that visibility brings scrutiny, especially for Black men who do not conform to narrow expectations. Rather than responding with anger, he often responds with humor or silence choices that resonate with older viewers who value composure over confrontation. Ricky Thompson's story does not belong in a list about being secretly born anything. It belongs in a conversation about how masculinity evolves, how media exaggeration distorts truth, and how confidence can look different across generations. His life illustrates a simple but often ignored reality. Being expressive is not deception, and authenticity does not require rewriting facts. In an era flooded with sensational headlines, Thompson's real achievement is longevity. He has stayed relevant without abandoning honesty. And for viewers tired of fake news disguised as entertainment, that may be the most refreshing truth of all. Daryl Stevens. Daryl Stevens is one of the clearest examples of how fake narratives can overtake real lives when accuracy is ignored. To be absolutely clear from the start, Daryl Stevens was born male and has never publicly identified as transgender. Any claim placing him in a category such as secretly born female or born male after transition is false. Saying this up front is essential because truth, not shock, is what gives a story value. Born in Pasadena, California, Daryl Stevens came of age during a period when black gay male representation in television was almost non-existent. His early life was shaped by the familiar pressures of race masculinity and sexuality in America, pressures many in the 45-65 age group will recognize from decades when silence was often mistaken for safety. Stevens did not hide who he was, but he also did not exploit his identity for attention. His approach was measured, grounded, and focused on craft. Stevens rose to prominence through his groundbreaking role as Noah Nicholson in the television series Noah's Ark. When the show premiered in 2005, it was historic, one of the first scripted series centered on the lives, friendships, and relationships of black gay men. Stevens' performance stood out for its emotional restraint, vulnerability, and realism. He portrayed a man navigating love career and self-worth, not stereotypes. When a role breaks, barriers quietly does it make a deeper impact than loud controversy. Importantly, Stevens' work challenged long-standing assumptions without rewriting reality. His masculinity was not performative, and his sexuality was not framed as scandal. For many older viewers, Noah's Ark represented something rare at the time, black men allowed to be emotionally complex without ridicule. Stevens carried that responsibility with care, knowing visibility could either educate or distort. After Noah's Ark, Stevens continued working in theater, film, and television, choosing roles that emphasized substance over exposure. He also became an author, using writing as another avenue to explore identity, love, and self-understanding. His public discussions around sexuality have always been rooted in honesty, not reinvention. He has never claimed a gender transition, nor has he supported narratives that blur the line between sexual orientation and gender identity. This distinction matters. In today's media environment, flamboyance, sensitivity, or non-traditional masculinity is often misinterpreted as evidence of hidden gender history. Stevens' life proves otherwise. Being a gay man does not equal being transgender, and collapsing those identities into one headline erases real experiences on both sides. For audiences who value integrity, Stevens' legacy is reassuring. He succeeded without deception, remained consistent across decades, and resisted the temptation to sensationalize his personal life. His career reflects an older school principle: let the work speak first, and let the truth stand without embellishment. Daryl Stevens' story does not belong to fabricated lists built for clicks. It belongs in a conversation about representation done right, where visibility expands, understanding rather than distorting facts. In an era crowded with exaggerated claims, his life reminds us that authenticity does not need rewriting, and that respect begins with accuracy. Alex Newell. Alex Newell's story is often pulled into online lists built on confusion, exaggeration, or outright falsehoods, so clarity matters from the very beginning. Alex Newell was born male and has never publicly identified as being assigned female at birth. He identifies as non-binary and gender non-conforming, and his life does not fit the claims suggested by titles like secretly born male. Correcting that distinction is essential if the goal is truth, rather than viral shock. Born in Massachusetts, Newell was raised by a single mother, and discovered music early as both refuge and expression. From childhood, his voice stood out powerful, elastic, and emotionally direct. At the same time, his relationship with gender expression challenged rigid expectations. Rather than conforming to traditional masculinity, Newell embraced theatricality, vulnerability, and range. For many viewers in the 45-65 age group, this may feel unfamiliar, but it echoes a long artistic tradition where performers use exaggeration and freedom to tell deeper truths. Newell first gained mainstream recognition through Glee, where his vocal performances routinely stopped the show. He was not introduced as a political statement, he was introduced as undeniable talent. His presence demonstrated something important: audiences respond to excellence before labels. Over time, Newell became more open about rejecting binary gender categories, explaining that his identity does not fit neatly into male or female. This self-definition was not a reinvention, but a clarification of how he had always experienced himself. Professionally, Newell's career reached a historic milestone on Broadway. His performance in Shucked earned him a Tony Award, making him one of the first openly non-binary performers to win in an acting category. For older audiences who value achievement earned through discipline, this matters. Broadway remains one of the most demanding arenas in entertainment, rewarding stamina, consistency, and technical skill. Newell's win was not symbolic, it was competitive. Throughout his career, Newell has been careful with language. He has spoken openly about how misinformation harms both transgender and non-binary communities, especially when gender expression is falsely equated with transition history. He has never claimed medical transitions such as hormone therapy or surgery, and he has not framed his life as a hidden past being revealed. His advocacy focuses on respect, artistic freedom, and mental health rather than confrontation. Newell's public image also challenges another common misconception, that femininity in men signals dishonesty or confusion. In reality, his openness has been consistent for years. He dresses boldly, speaks directly, and refuses to apologize for occupying space. That confidence resonates across generations, even when the aesthetics feel new. Many older viewers recognize the principle beneath the surface, the right to live without shrinking. In a media environment where sensational titles collapse identity, sexuality, and gender into misleading claims, Alex Newell's real story offers a corrective. He is not evidence of someone being secretly born anything. He is evidence that gender expression can evolve without rewriting biology, and that authenticity does not require deception. Alex Newell's legacy is rooted in excellence, not controversy. His voice, his awards, and his consistency have secured his place in entertainment history, at a time when fake news often travels faster than truth. His life reminds audiences that accuracy is not optional. It is the foundation of respect. Aaron Rose Phillip. Aaron Rose. Phillip's life story is frequently distorted online, so accuracy must come first. Aaron Rose Phillip was assigned male at birth and identifies as a black transgender woman. She has never claimed to be secretly born male in the sensational way viral titles suggest. Instead, her public journey is one of openness, advocacy, and historic firsts, particularly at the intersection of race, disability, and gender identity. Understanding that distinction is essential if we are serious about rejecting fake news. Born in Antigua and raised in the United States, Aaron's early life was shaped by extraordinary challenges. She was born with cerebral palsy, a condition that affects muscle coordination and mobility. For much of her childhood, society's expectations were narrow and limiting, especially for a black child with a visible disability. On top of that, Aaron was navigating gender identity in environments that often lacked language, compassion, or protection. These layers of marginalization did not silence her. They sharpened her sense of purpose. As a teenager, Aaron began living openly as a transgender girl. Under medical care, she pursued hormone therapy with estrogen, allowing her physical appearance to better align with her female identity. She has also spoken publicly about procedures such as facial feminization surgery, always framing them as personal healthcare decisions rather than cosmetic spectacle. Her transparency stands in contrast to misleading narratives that imply secrecy or deception. Erin's transition was visible, deliberate, and grounded in medical reality, not hidden from the public eye. Her breakthrough came in the fashion industry, a space historically resistant to difference. Erin Rose Phillip became the first Black physically disabled transgender model signed to a major modeling agency, a milestone confirmed by industry records. She appeared in high-profile campaigns and runway shows, challenging long-held assumptions about beauty desirability and who is allowed to be seen. For audiences aged 45 to 65, her rise echoes earlier civil rights breakthroughs. Visibility first met with discomfort, then slowly with recognition. When society expands its definition of beauty, does it lose tradition or gain truth? What separates Erin from many media figures is her clarity. She does not allow her story to be reduced to inspiration, cliches, or shock-driven headlines. Instead, she speaks directly about accessibility, disability rights, and the economic barriers faced by marginalized communities. She has criticized industries that celebrate diversity in marketing while failing to provide structural inclusion behind the scenes. Her advocacy is data-driven and grounded in lived experience, not abstract slogans. Erin has also used her platform to address mental health, particularly among transgender youth and people with disabilities. Studies from the CDC and NIH consistently show higher rates of depression and anxiety among these groups, largely due to social exclusion rather than identity itself. By naming these realities openly, Erin reframes her success not as an exception, but as evidence of what becomes possible when barriers are removed. Crucially, Erin Rose Phillip's story does not support claims made in videos that blur gender identity for shock value. She is not an example of someone hiding a past. She is an example of someone refusing to let others rewrite her truth. For older viewers who value integrity, that distinction matters. Honesty is not about fitting expectations. It is about stating facts clearly even when they challenge comfort. Erin's legacy is still unfolding, but its foundation is already clear. She has reshaped fashion standards, expanded conversations about disability, and insisted on precise language in a media culture that often trades accuracy for attention. Her life reminds us that progress is not loud deception. It is sustained courage backed by truth. At Legends of Black Excellence, our goal is not to shock, but to inform with accuracy and respect. The stories discussed are often simplified by viral titles, yet real lives are never that simple. Gender identity, personal history, and public success deserve clarity, not exaggeration. When facts are replaced by sensational claims, credibility is the first casualty. These narratives challenge long-standing assumptions, especially for older generations, but they also invite reflection on dignity, truth, and representation. The real question is not who fits a headline, but who controls the story. Should media prioritize viral attention or the responsibility that comes with telling real human stories truthfully?